button. All right. All good. Thank you for being patient.
No problem.
So I think maybe the first place to kind of start is what were you like? What was your kind of vibe and mentality going into Shipwrecked?
It it's kind of tough to say. Going into Shipwrecked, I was consciously trying to like avoid thinking of it more as like anything other than just another tournament, and I just like kept that in mind the entire time. But like, despite that, I still got like I guess I still got like the physiological responses that I normally have when I'm nervous. So like heart rate starts going up, having a bit tougher to think,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So it's kind of tough for me to pin down how I was thinking like going into Shipwrecked, because how I was thinking and how I was reacting were like two different things.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I don't. I think also your body's like anyone's reactions to like a tournament, for instance. It's a lot. It's super hard to like force your body to not use those kind of like alarm bell systems,
Hmm.
especially when it's like, oh, it's a bigger tournament. So even hell, even watching is like, oh, I'm getting nervous, right? Let alone like, oh, it's we're starting to have a few more in-person events. It's happening, and it's a big bundle of excitement for better and worse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Excuse me.
So like I don't know, I felt it like worse not even like during my matches, but specifically while I was like waiting for them. Like I'd be in the stream room and I'd just be watching a stream, and then I'd just be trying to think about whatever I can, and my heart rate just goes up seeing like a match go close, for example. Like the Come Fearless set especially.
That sounds wild.
Yeah, it is rough.
Um, yeah, so it's like almost like when you're playing a set, you can kind of be distracted enough to get around a little bit of the kind of like nervous responses and kind of extra energy and kind of stuff.
A little bit, but like I do have like some problems when I play as well, I guess. Like I don't think I have as big problems playing a set as I do when I have like the tension before a set or like watching really, really close sets. But at the same time, when I am playing a set, oftentimes it doesn't take as much to like get me off focus. And one thing that was especially prominent versus bagels that ended up hurting me was like when I'm out of focus, I noticed that I go for some really, really pronounced habits. Like game four, I was almost always like rising fair uh, as recovering directly at the perfect spacing for him to hit me with an aerial.
Mm-hmm.
When like I go to like an SG or that one New York Monthly, and like I caught myself doing that a lot more quickly and like was able to mix it up a lot better. But at Shipwrecked, even though I caught it, it's like I wouldn't respond at all to changing it, and like each time it was like stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this.
Right? It becomes that it's almost like a stop hitting yourself kind of thing.
Basically, yeah. The kind of thing where like what you're doing is bad, you know it's bad, but you're still doing it.
Yeah, it's like you're watching your hand do the habit. Like, no, that's not what we talked about.
Yeah, it's rough. And then like on top of that, I still had a lot of those sets. Maybe not a lot of those sets, but I had a lot of those thoughts that you were describing that Bagels once had, where like even if I was like trying to actively like put it out of my mind, I still like
The weight of the
I
world
still
kind of
felt
thing.
Yeah, I felt like there were a ton of expectations for the past couple tournaments for me to start doing like well after kind of dominating SG for the most part and having a pretty visible come up overall throughout the pandemic, I guess.
Hmm.
So like when I have basically best in mass at this point, when I'm beating people in region, when I'm constantly getting like people saying that I'm like easily the best Ness over like a couple other really good people. And there was this one moment that especially like was definitely in good faith, but definitely contributed to it, where I was like talking with Sosa while we were playing a few games, and he was talking about like winners finals potentially, and he said maybe we'd meet in there, and I was like, oh cool, I'm really glad that you have that much confidence in me because I don't.
Well, if it's any consolation, that's like a human experience thing.
Yeah.
It's it is a very like I still have the picture saved in my computer somewhere, but there was a YouTube comment on, I think it was a bigger Balk set against like Sosa or Switch or something, that just warmed my heart, but also filled my nightmares, of someone saying, "Oh, Fuzz is absolutely top 3 or 5 or whatever," and it's like that makes me really happy, and that is going to be just filling my dreams and nightmares for eternity now. Because now it's like you have something to lose now a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas whether it's that confidence of like, oh, I think I'm a really good Nest player. I'm like maybe I'm the best Nest. If Sosa thinks so, I think he might be right. Or whether it's, oh, all my friends from Mass are hoping that I do well and are watching my sets on stream, or oh, Fearless is the last remaining Texas player in top 8. Like, I want to phrase this very carefully. That is always going to be there, and it kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not a failure to kind of get overwhelmed by that, especially when you have a lot of other stuff kind of contributing to that. It's not just, oh, this is the third time that I'm the last Mass player in top 8 or whatever, right? I'm the last Nest player, but it is going to be, if you can start, it is going to still come up forever, more or less. So I think being able to almost make it more benign in that way, it could help kind of, it's less of this, oh, it's this monster, it's this mystical force that just appears. Like, no, it's just a normal human thing that's going to come up, especially later in bracket, and that's when it's going to hurt the most, because against, like, same thing happened with Fearless, right? Shahid got reverse 3-0'd by jumping into down air, and watching it live, it's just gonna happen, especially watching it live. It's like, obviously it's a lot easier to see from the outside, but that's when that kind of stuff happens. That stuff doesn't happen at the locals because you're comfortable. Even in close sets, like you had mentioned that, and I agree with you on this. I'm not saying your assessment is incorrect, but it's because you are the best player in Mass right now. It's because you have, you had mentioned you had beaten, I think, like Moto or Twisty like a dozen plus times, that you have these confidence, like, oh, I've played Twisty 20 times. I know his habits. I know he knows my habits. There's not as much surprise and there's not as much stakes. So, like, that's why people money match when they go to Maters to get better practice. Not like half so that way other people will take them a little more seriously. Half so they will take it a little more. There's a little more to lose, and they get more practice with that kind of like fight, flight, freeze, nerve, terror response. Terror response is a big word to use. I think I might be exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%.
And right, like I said, I don't want to kind of, I want to phrase this in a good way. It is going to keep happening in different amounts, but because of that, that's something that you can get familiar with. That's something that you can get not comfortable, but you can get. it's like this. If you've ever haven't had a shot until you're like an old teenager or like a young adult, it can be kind of scary. But the second one's not as bad, right?
Yeah, I think I understand.
So like now that you've kind of, like you said, you had all of this pressure and this weight. Oh, you're kind of like representing your region. You're kind of representing your character. You're representing Heartspot TV, and Trent's cool. So like it's not like it's like you obviously want to do well for yourself and for everyone who's like believes in you and wants you to do well for you too. But the good news is the second time, even if it results aside, the second time you will be more used to it. And that might not be much better, but it will be a little less scary.
Yeah. I think that definitely really helps to hear. I know that like just like everything, developing the ability to be able to play past those stressful thoughts and a lot of I'm not sure I would say expectations. I guess pressure that you're putting onto yourself sometimes is something that will constantly come up, I think. It'll constantly be something that'll happen specifically when I'm out of state. And yeah, I think that the main question is like, what can I do best to get better at dealing with it specifically? Because at the moment my baseline is kind of breaking down, I guess.
Right, you don't have that kind of like foundation to fall back on when it gets super stressful, and that's just a bad time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Th-
Yeah.
even by this standard, I think that's a very personal kind of like I can tell you that it gets better. I can tell you that like our shared experiences of kind of like competing, kind of like as with a weirdo character in a region that might not have a lot of players at the event. We have that shared experience, but the deeper we go, I don't know how to like. I can help you find a way to help deal with the stress and kind of like refocus. But let me mute this real quick. There we go. But I don't know. I can help you find it, but I don't know what it will be.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't like doing this all the time, and just let me know if it's kind of like getting old. But I can only really draw from my experiences with this kind of stuff. What helped me was kind of like finding, even if it's just like watching stream, like finding a friend to like talk about, even if it's some dumb shit, right? Like, what was it at Bigger Belk? There was that big gap before top 8 because it was a big event. They had to literally like change a few things about the build. It was great. That was the only time I've ordered, was it like Uber Eats or something? And I just decided, you know what? I'm hungry. And Shahid was nice enough to give me a code for this, so it's like not prohibitively expensive. I'm just gonna get distracted ordering Uber Eats and dealing with some poor dude trying to navigate a college campus. That way, I don't have to think about top 8. I don't think about Smash, because I have been doing plenty of that already, and I just need like a refresh. So even though it wasn't very fun being like, okay, like I'm trying to get this Uber Eats dude to the place on campus that I have never been before in my life. It's like, it's something that I can focus on. It's a different problem, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or if maybe it's not the big gap in top 8 and there's still matches on stream and you're waiting for bagels or you're waiting for Greeley, you're waiting for a next set, right? Maybe you can. Something that also has kind of worked for me is going and watching stream, or even just like a random different game and being like, putting myself in the shoes of this player, what would I do here? Just to like get a different problem that is abstracted from me and what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I guess like almost dissociating in a way.
Yeah. I actually like that. I wonder if it's possible that just like, I don't know, maybe bringing my Switch and playing a completely different game might help. Because that was something that I actually considered doing. And oftentimes, whenever I try to go to a major, my mental reset is primarily either like trying to sit at like the stream setup or like stepping out like right outside the venue, and like I don't know how much that helps honestly, because when I'm like not necessarily like focusing on stream, but kind of have it on in the background while I'm just like thinking, I oftentimes try and start like getting a lot more worried about my set and like trying to I guess start overthinking things. And then when I'm outside and just trying to relax, I'm often getting lost in my thought again. And both of those times, it's very easy to start getting hung up on like what ifs, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of like spiral and you start thinking, oh, well, what if that? What if this? Oh, what if, what if Bagels loses? What if I'm preparing for the wrong player to play or whatever? It's...
Yeah. And then, like, by the time you actually get there, it's like, okay, I already feel stressed. This isn't going to be good.
Right. You're going in less than 100%.
Yeah.
And if you're nervous about the match, it's probably against a player that you need 100% against. Man, that really sucks how that works out, doesn't it?
Yeah, honestly.
I think the Switch game would be a perfect one. Because if you're watching stream, especially... It's one thing for like, oh, when I think of a stream, I don't automatically think of like, like a card game or something because I don't watch streams for that. But you're at a tournament, going on stream frequently, like Smash streams become synonymous with like, okay, I need to think about competing. So that might be a little too close. And then I completely get the whole like, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts right now vibe. Like you need, even if it's just something mindless, like I'll shiny hunt in Pokemon sometimes, just with like a video on, just to have like something to do with my hands and eyeballs. Mm-hmm. I think that could be like, whether it's like a challenging game, like maybe you're playing a puzzle game, or like, a shooter game or something on your Switch, or it's just something to like physically go through the motions of. It can help ground you a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me write that down. Reset and refresh with grounding. Switch games. Maybe if you don't have your Switch, just like if you have a YouTube channel you've been getting into recently, or like hell, just look up your favorite show on YouTube and type video essay afterwards, and just whether you like it or not, something to think about.
Fair. Basically, just like at the point where I'm already at the major, I've already done almost all of the work that I can for it. And sure, even if I wanted to do a little bit more work, like, I don't know, say labbing, for example, like in the last second, I think that what might be better for me for now is to just, like, find this way that I can just, like, chill, I guess, and not think about any of this stuff at all, so that once I go in, I can, like, start playing without the same level of stress that I had at, like, at Shipwrecked.
Right. For some players, they can really do that with friendlies. Like, that's all it takes for them. And good for them, but man, I don't get it.
That would stress me out so much.
What works for me that's also nice is just... This is also one of the reasons I only do really well at events where I have friends, is because just talking with my friends or like asking them how they're doing, like that's a good way for me to get distracted, and also a good way for me to check in on them. Like, it's not just to serve the purpose of me playing better, but it's, hey, how's your run going, Jared? Right? Like, it's like, oh yeah, I made top 16 in Strive. It's like, what? You made top 16 in Strive? And then suddenly Smash is gone, right? Now I'm gassing up my boy. I'm thinking about, oh, he's playing Leo. What are his bad matchups? What is he bad at? What is he good at? And even though it's still like more active thinking, well, in that case, it's still more active thinking. Even if it's more active thinking, it's like, oh, it's not about me. It's not about this game, maybe even, right? Maybe it's not even about competition. It can be like, oh, so like, have you seen Squid Game or whatever? This show of the month, etc.
I'm actually currently watching it, and it is absolutely amazing.
It's on Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. Have you seen it?
I have not. I'm waiting until JoJo's to renew my Netflix.
Fair. anyways, back to the topic, I guess. Sorry.
No, you good. So yeah, just like trying, because you can't have a conversation and still be playing the what if game in your head. You can't have a conversation and still be like actively doing something else. But at least, like, again, this is a for me personal thing. I can't like just sit and not think. And that is like meditation doesn't really do anything for me. I can't get there. So like I might want to go outside and just like walk around a little bit, but that's for the purpose of walking around and getting fresh air, because the silence just kills me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it sounds like you kind of have the way where if like going outside is a good idea, but you might need to like, ask someone to come with you and like, to walk around in the circle and just talk for a little while, or sit down on the bench or something and talk, but as opposed to just sit down on the bench and think.
Yeah.
Anything to distract from self and Smash.
Yeah. I think that I do like feel that way. It is very hard for me to turn my brain off sometimes, cuz like I just feel like I have a really active mind, especially when it comes to something like PM, where like I just whenever it comes up I just want to think about it, honestly.
Yep.
There's so much to think about in PM, and eventually it just like ends up going to the wrong things sometimes if I'm getting nervous.
Right. That energy kind of like, again, spirals and becomes not like, okay, so how do I cover fireballs, right? If I magnet them, am I actionable enough to like not be super threatened? And then it becomes like, what am I going to do if he just fireballs? Oh, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
And it becomes especially like as you get to the skill level like you're at, like you become like representative. It is so hard to ride that line of like, I need to stay humbled and like aware, and I also need to have the confidence to try out new stuff and to not get in my own head without at least like something insane happening, like getting 9 3 times by Peter.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I guess at this point, I think that I'm just gonna end up going a bit more in circles with this topic. I don't really know if there's much else I can like think about doing outside of like doing the things we talked about like grounding myself before matches, and like when there's a lot of downtime, finding something to distract myself from, I guess, Smash in general, and moving forward, learning how to deal with this level of stress now that I know that this is what exactly, I guess this is like what the sources are of the stress.
Yeah.
Because I definitely didn't really know that source until actually like experiencing it at not main stage, at Shipwrecked.
Yeah, it's I watch too much anime, but it's very like anime-esque in the sense of like, you get to the tournament, right, and there's just this immense insert name of specific shows, spiritual pressure or energy level or whatever it is. It is a weight, and I think I mentioned Blacklisted will probably be better because it's home turf, and primarily you will have other people there to like interact with and like distract yourself from your next match with.
Yeah.
Because if the only thing in your head is like, Luigi could do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, da, 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 PM is too big for that, right? Like,
yeah.
For like 2D fighters, like the list is short enough to be like, okay, that's slightly plus on block. He has a 3-frame. Does not have good anti-airs. Okay, I can think about this now, and it's only a few things. It's not too many. But for Smash, it's like, okay, Luigi doesn't have a lot of aerial drift, but the burst movement, how far does ledge dash go? How far is he going to start doing like diagonal ledge dash, like 18-degree ledge dash? How far do those go? How do I stop him from up smashing me? Like, it's way more variable in analog, so you can't really prep at that point for like what could happen. You had mentioned it earlier, like at that point, it's not going to really do you any good for the risk of spiraling.
Yeah.
So I think, see, the tricky part is this is hard to practice because even at locals, it's like a different vibe. Let
Yeah.
alone when you are consistently topping locals. Um,
Honestly, my main goal for getting practice for this kind of thing is just going to majors, because I've found that at least after talking to Silver, the best thing that you can do for this kind of thing is experience, and just like putting yourself in those situations
I agree
where
with
you
that for
can
sure.
actually like where you can actually like experience that, I guess.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is a feelings problem. It's not a mechanical game problem. It's not like, oh, I am having hand pains. It's like, no, my heart is pounding out of my chest and my palms are sweaty before I even touch my controller, right?
Yeah, 100%. Oh my God. It
Um,
is really rough, like, not dealing with that sort of stress. I think that one last thing that I actually thought about on this topic before we move on to, I guess, once we're actually in the set,
mhm.
is the other thing that I'm kind of not used to is that even if I know that like I'm a really strong player, I'm still kind of starstruck when I'm fighting other strong players. If that makes sense. Because most of my experience has been pandemic. Generally, I'm like just playing a faceless person on the screen in front of me, even if like I haven't played them in forever. But pre-pandemic, or even if they are like a top player. But pre-pandemic, a lot of my experiences at majors was like, oh my god, this is a really good player. Hey, didn't I see Bagels beat Malachi at even bigger balk that one time? And
Right.
that just
Yeah.
ends up also getting in my mind, and it also ends up worsening my imposter syndrome, I guess.
There's there's some advice that I don't. Mango did not phrase it as advice because, of course, not. He's Mango. But I think something that Mango said helped me a lot with this is you may probably notice I like to use people's names. Mango, I think someone was asking him like, "Wait, do you mean Mewtwo King?" when he said Jason, and he was like, "No, Mewtwo King is one of the best players in the world. Jason's just a dude." Something to that effect, right? So like, yeah, I love bagels is this ridiculously momentum-based Luigi player who will read your soul if you let him. And Gio is just this dude who likes anime and likes playing Luigi, and he's really good at it, but he's Gio, right? He's just a dude.
Yeah.
Like Sosa is one of the best players in the world over the last like 5 years, but his last name is Sosa, and I found a window like a small storefront in Houston that said Sosa Insurance Company, and it was funny. Like if you can keep them from being like an anime big bad team, that like if you can make them people, then it's so much easier to deal with that.
Mhm.
So like Fearless might be a bad example because I sincerely believe that if he could play as well as if he can play it like at his like top 90% consistently, he's top 10. He always I don't know what it is. I haven't had a conversation with him about it because he's not super forthcoming, but like if he could play the way he plays at locals consistently, he would be top 10. There's no doubt in my mind. But when he goes to bigger events, something gets in the way there. Whether that just means that he can like read people super well and it takes a long time to get there or like something, but like Fearless is terrifying. Shahid is just like it kind of like seemingly less expressive, a little more stoic, like Lucario player who is super smart, but like he's Shahid. He's not Fearless.
Yeah.
That one actually works really well because of his tag. I'll say I play in that. Yeah, for sure. But like, it's especially when you only see like clips or tournament runs. It's easy to think of these people as these, especially in Smash, because not only is it like a 1v1 game where you're super expressive, but like we adopted a lot of things from Melee. The like minor hero worship included. Like, oh, the Titans of Project M. Junebug is the number one player of all of this year. This player hasn't lost in 6 months. Like, those are really good stories, but at some point, you have to be able to separate the fact from fiction. The fiction is that, oh, they're Titans. They are enormously good. The fact is they have a 65% win rate against the top 50, which is very good, but, like, they're people.
Yeah.
There was a because this is especially in in Houston, this was a very common kind of like issue because you had like me, Shahid, and a few other players would be like the top 5-ish in Houston, and then the like 6 through 10 would be fine at locals, but when they would play anyone else for like regionals in Texas that would be on our level, you would think that they like thought they couldn't compete. Like there was a Kirby player, Evan, who he really like he was about to play Dakpo at Battlegrounds. It was an event that was being streamed, and like it was like a bigger regional event for Houston, and he was really nervous. It's like, oh, I gotta play Dakpo. Oh, I don't like. I have Caleb for Game Watch experience, but I don't really know how different Dakpo is. I didn't prepare for this. Like, Evan, you're a person. He's a person. You're playing a video game. He's good at the video game. So are you. Either of you can win. These are just facts. Like, this is not subjective. Either of you can win. You don't. It's not some David versus Goliath thing. You know, just play your best as it is today, and that's all you got to worry about. And it's, in my experience, that has helped people. Like even at Shipwrecked, SSK, my friend, he actually also plays Kirby. That's a fun transition. He made top 32. He took Nog to Game 5 in pools. He beat his Ivy. He beat his Rob. And he was starting to come around on his DK by Game 5. And Nog himself said this to me. I didn't actually get the chance to see this out, unfortunately. But Devin also said he felt pretty good about it. And it's really funny because the night before, he was terrified. He's going like, oh no, like, what if I don't do well? I don't think I'm really any good at this game. As he's like going even with me in friendlies for 2 hours. So it's my overall point is like Devin going even with Jasper in friendlies is really cool. Good for him. Devin taking Noah. Devin taking Noah to Game 5 is really cool. SSK against Nog is like an underdog story, right? You're introducing extra framing because like especially with how much media is nowadays and how much like everything is a story, everything is a show, everything is like a plot. Our brains want to like make this interesting. They want to make it a story. And that's really fun, but at least for ourselves, we really got to like bring it down a little bit. Be like, "Oh yeah, Anna played Geo. Geo won." Right? That's all That's all it has to be. That's all like whether Anna won, Geo won, the Wii crashed and they had to go to a different setup. If you just kind of can bring them down from stars or titans or whatever other big capitalized noun the next Smash game we'll call them, then you can work on, oh, Geo has this bad habit. Or, oh, Anna has this bad habit. I need to clean that up. That's third person. That's weird. But, like, I have this bad habit. I need to clean this up. So it's a lot easier than going, oh, Bagels has this. Like, it's more abstract when it's the tag, when it's this. It's your perception of this person, where if you've heard of them, your perception is probably that they win a lot by default, which is kind of setting yourself up for nerves at that point.
Yeah.
So like you don't have to call people by their name necessarily, but like that's one thing that I like to do to kind of like de-escalate.
Yeah.
I know that was a very long tangent, and I apologize.
That was a tangent? That was exactly what I was asking about.
I talked about anime. Anime is always a tangent.
Okay, fine. But it illustrated the point.
Okay.
But yeah, that I don't know how to say this. I guess that was like really reassuring to hear. I don't know if that's the right word, but like...
It's not just a you thing.
Yeah.
You're not privy to everyone else's inner thoughts. Especially, like, my favorite example is Sosa. Sosa looks super, like, neutral the entire time when he plays. Unless something super wacky happens. But I guarantee you, he is concerned about stuff while he plays. He just physically has to be. He has to be thinking about, oh, is this going to work? How do I hit them with X? What if they hit me with Y? And he's just got a good poker face. But that doesn't mean that he's not concerned about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I Love Bagels is a Luigi player who doesn't afraid of anything. But Geo has a lot on his shoulders. Some he puts there himself, some he kind of adopts there. And, you know, I Love Bagels isn't a full person. Geo is a full person. Mm-hmm. So, like, especially with that kind of, like, factually, if you've heard of them, they probably have won a lot, so that you start off with that impression.
Yeah.
You like take your local scene. I don't know a lot of people from Massachusetts, but like if I know Twisty, I know that Twisty's a Wario player who's super good, that plays really grounded and likes Bite. I don't know the person behind Twisty. I don't know what struggles they have in their local scene. I don't know what struggles they have like with their gameplay, with their mentality. I don't know if they're hard on themselves or like super cocky. Like there's when the player stops at the tag, it is such an incomplete view of the person. Not even like for the purposes of like player habits, but just like by definition, like Fuzz doesn't deal with taxes. Like, Fuzz doesn't deal with, like, oh, my car got hit by a rock, right? Fuzz plays a video game, and then Fuzz goes away as soon as the set's over. Or as soon as the event's over, right? They go home, they're not Fuzz anymore. Mm-hmm. So maybe this might be a little hyper-specific thing, and it might not work out for you quite as well, but, like, even if you just think of them as, like, oh, that's not Fuzz, that's Jasper. That's a person who, like... I don't know. I like the idea. Like, imagine Sosa paying taxes. It's weird, right? He's sitting down at the coffee table, just like, okay, where's my W-2s? Like, it's bizarre because you don't see him in that context.
Yeah.
And it's like a less creepy version of the whole picture the audience in their underwear. It's like, these are people. They are also going through. I guarantee you, everyone has gone through the same level of like, oh shit, I'm playing against X? Like, hell, I got third at Belk, and I ended up winning Salty Ones, and when I sat down to play a Junebug, who hadn't had, like, the best results in the world by Salty Ones for, I still went, oh fuck, this is Junebug, dude. Like, my heart was pounding, I was terrified. But at some point, it's like, okay, this is not Junebug, this is a person whose video game name is Junebug. You know, this person has a job. This person, you know, has taxes. This person has a car. You know, anything where you can remove them from their strong element mentally. Be like, especially if they're like really chill and like kind of stone-faced. Jimmy, like, oh, Sosa, nothing phases Keist. Nothing phases Sosa. It's like, dude, Keist snores. Like, or I don't even know if he just snores, but like, just like thinking about like out of their element, they are people.
Yeah,
it can help you kind of even the playing field because this is a very individualized thing, especially because it's a mentality thing. But like, to some extent, everyone goes through this. Everyone, especially if you have that kind of like. It's not just like, oh, over the course of 7 years, I got a little bit better at a time. But it's like, no, over the course of the quarantine, like, you got sponsored. You got, like, very dominant in your region. You got, like, the glow up, right? Like,
yeah,
I can relate to that. It's really scary to suddenly be the name to be. Because that means that you can't just play as much as you could before. And you got more stuff to worry about. And it shouldn't be that way, but it just, like, brains work that way, unfortunately.
I've been feeling that incredibly hard recently. Like, I was feeling everything that I, like, was talking about earlier, but all I want to do is just, like, play the game without, like, any of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just... TM is just way too fun.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing...
It's way too fun to be bogged down by storylines and expectations and pressure and stuff. It's rough.
That is part of what makes it fun, though. Like, the game itself is definitely super fun, but that's part of the beauty of, like, especially at bigger events, right? Like, at locals, it's one thing if, you know, it's like lower stakes, even if it is week to week, but that's part of the that's part of kind of just the beauty is that it's over, right? It's over at the end of the event. By 11 p.m. on Saturday, the event was over. No matter what happens, it's done. And in this case, we got a lot of new stuff. We got Atari making ninth. We got Blue kind of like coming out to events again. We got Sosa pit, and he committed to the pit. This wasn't just a counter pick. This was a decision he's finally committing to. We got Kais's first major win. And all that stuff doesn't really happen. That doesn't happen if there isn't stakes. And part of the reason it's cool is because, part of the reason Sosa committing to pit is really cool is because if he loses, he's out. He can't play any more PM. And your actions when that's on the line, that's one of the biggest stakes for us as competitors, right? If I win, I get to keep playing. If I lose, I have to stop.
Yeah.
It's obviously very bittersweet because nobody wants to. It's a very kind of cruel zero-sum thing at the end of the day, but part of that's what makes it really kind of beautiful's a little bit of an excessive word here, but that's part of why it's cool is because back against the wall, losers bracket Sosa, he committed to the pit. He made his decision and stood by it, and even if he lost, that's who he is in that moment. That is what he's done. And that's a positive aspect of that. A negative aspect might be, even up 2-0, it's it's a flip side of the coin, right? Sosa lost with his pit. And the flip side of the coin of, I Love Bagel's got this sick reverse 3-0 against Fearless. You have to reverse 3-0 somebody. You can't just have a reverse 3-0 and nobody else lose.
Yeah.
It means that, he didn't finish it out. Because that would have been huge for Shahid. He's been on that brink for so long. He plays exactly as seeded, right around that mid-20s level. And it really kills me because I know he's amazing and he plays amazing, but he never quite has had his bigger breakout. And I really want that for him, but it didn't happen this time. And that's really that's sad, but that's why when it does happen, it'll be cool. And that's why it's important, even when it doesn't happen and it hurts. It hurts because it didn't happen, which meant that it'll feel good when it does.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that one was a little bit of a tangent. You can't lie to my face like this.
Okay, that one was a tangent, but it resonated really hard with me. So it was a good tangent.
Okay, C- tangent. Let's go.
Very, very good tangent.
Yeah, I think that's the really, it's it is kind of a poetic, bittersweet thing, events, because, there is one person who wins. 25% of the event goes 0-2. And you can't go 0-2 without someone losing. You can't go 2-0 without, someone losing. And even in the perfect world, where everyone, because it's a hard thing to do to separate, I went 0-2 and still be able to acknowledge, but I improved. My opponents were really good, and me losing does not reflect on any laziness on my part, on any anything else like that, any negative things about me. Even in the perfect world, you still go 0-2. It still kind of sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's why you get nervous. That's why your heart gets pumping, because it is important, and you do want to win to keep playing, to kind of I don't know your specific motivations, but there's dozens of them. I want to be the best Charizard. I want to be the best from Texas. I want to be the first one from Texas to win a major. I want to see how good I can get at this game that I really like. I want to see if I like this game even more, being better at it. I want to see, any number of super valid reasons. And that's why that's what's at stake. At the end of the day, your enjoyment of the game is kind of what you're bringing to the table when you compete in tournaments. You say, my way is going to win. Whether that's your prep, your mental focus, your character, your any number of Oh God, what got me the most? This is related, but this is short. What got me the most when I would lose in tournament after Balk is if I lost to a character that was in my local scene, it's like I let everyone down. It's like it never happened, and I will be in the ground before it ever does. But if I ever lose to a Lucario in tournament, I will have to physically apologize to Shahid. Not that Shahid means like is so good that even practice against him should mean I win against everybody. But like it that's a personal hang up for me is that like, oh, this is reflecting on my loved ones, the people I play against frequently, my region, my character, etc. When it super isn't. And that's my problem that I'm putting there. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Once again, that resonates actually a lot, honestly.
Oh no.
Why the oh no?
Well, just because it's not a pleasant feeling. Especially when you're playing, like, basically, we're playing Brawl characters.
Yeah. That
are very variable. And everyone, like, a little bit is like, oh, obviously everyone's playing the way that they think the character, or they gets their chances of winning the highest. And it's a little bit of proving, like oh, for Mewtwo, right? I started using S-Smash in neutral, and it kind of works. And there was a little bit of pride in that. I'm like, oh, hey, S-Smash is a good move. Shut up, y'all. You don't know what you're talking about. And when it doesn't work, it hurts a little bit because, oh, maybe they were right. And that's for obviously a very, like, very minor, it's not like a complicated maneuver. It's not like, oh, this is feasible, let alone, like, it's like, oh, this is a decision that's good sometimes, actually. And it's putting yourself out there, putting yourself, like, on the line in that way. Mm-hmm. And that's when you're kind of like the most alive, in my experience. That's when you have the most to lose. And again, that's like a good and a bad thing, of course, because it's a zero-sum event. It's not golf. You can't just be like, well, I didn't win, but I set a new PB, or like speedrunning or golf, right? Where it's a personal thing, and then your personal competes with someone else's personal. And it's just like, well, mathematically, how did it turn out? Like, no, this is like, someone is trying to keep you from playing the game. And when you have to put so much of yourself into the character, into the game at that point, it's like, it's not a personal offense, but like, it is kind of like, when Fearless four-stocked Atari, or more or less four-stocked him twice, it's like, okay, this is kind of like something you need to be able to separate yourself from. And it's almost easier when it's four stocks, frankly. Like, when Mr. L's destroyed me and four stocked me, it's like, okay, sure, that's like funny at that point. It's like circle back around again to be like, okay, yeah, sure. But those reverse 3-0s, those comebacks, that's when it hurts. Because that's when it most clearly, like, seems to demonstrate a deficiency. When it doesn't, but it just, they could have just had, like, a surge of confidence. They could have just, you say run could have just start playing in Gio's head, and it's like, I mean, that just means he plays better now, right? Like, like that's just on Gio's end, but Shahid just wasn't able to do it this time. All right, so again, I know that one was a tangent because I talked about anime. What about during a set? You mentioned you wanted to talk about that some.
I guess during a set, since this is always going to be something that's, like, I guess omnipresent, I'm kind of wondering what might be good strategies to ground myself in a set and, like, prevent that from starting to overwhelm me while I'm playing. And also when to identify, like, how to stop it from preventing me from adapting my own play and to the opponent's play. That's kind of what I was interested in.
Gotcha. So basically, how to either prevent getting in your own head or, like, get out of your own head?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. This is, like, another one of those harder situations because, like with earlier, like, between games, you can talk to people, you can distract yourself.
Yeah.
Distracting yourself in-game is kind of risky. I forget. Did we talk about autopilot last week?
Yeah, we did. I
was
actually just thinking about that conversation.
That's one way to do it, but depending on, like, obviously against the better players, you have to, like, really minimize, like, be very, like like a car, right? Oh, I'm going to turn on cruise control for 2 miles, which isn't really like a fun. Like you still have to think about it.
Yeah.
So maybe stuff like, oh, down air, up air, right? That gives you a few seconds of literally like thinking. If it's against a character that's not like super floaty and like it's not like very tight, you don't have to time the up air against Luigi Nair or anything. You can just like do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find those moments of reprieve, that kind of, in my experience, that helps me reset. For like, oh, I toss off, up throw kills, I get 4 seconds, right? That's 4 seconds between star KO, respawn plat. Maybe I ledge stall. That gives you actions to do for your hands to do to literally stall time for your head. And if you can use that time, in my experience, if you can use that time to go, okay, let's say, again, Luigi, right? What is Luigi doing after ledge dash? Because he's going to do something after ledge dash. And he's going to ledge dash because he's Luigi. So you can just find a way to compartmentalize it. Or like, what is Fox doing on my shield? Because he's going to hit your shield. You don't have to worry about the if, just the when. That can give you a second to, even if you don't come up with a solution, be like, okay, I'm expecting the up smash. Or like, okay, maybe like, oh yeah, up smash or throws don't actually kill if I DI towards ledge as he ledge dash down throws me, right? So I shield, I just hold towards ledge, and that's my solution for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. Anything to make him do something else.
Yeah. I like that a lot. A lot of the time when I'm trying to reset myself, it ends up either going to one of two things. It's either like trying to give myself a bit of a confidence boost, which can be very difficult sometimes, or trying to focus like a bit on what's happening in a specific situation. And like, I was definitely experiencing the former when I was playing Bagels, but something that helped me a lot versus Kais at at the New York Monthly for the latter, was oftentimes I noticed that I would like, when I was getting into the corner, something that I would do a lot is a full hop or short hop, double jump, cancel bear towards him, and he would always F tilt me. So basically, when I went into that afterwards, I would like after I died of that, I would go in with the plan, okay, I see myself in the corner, go for like a ledge grab, like wave dash ledge grab, or go for like, I don't know, is he in range for like an F smash? I actually hit him with one of those, I remember.
Hell yeah. Team C-Stick, let's go.
Hell yeah. Is he in range for like a mag? Can I down tilt him, or maybe even just run past him in general, or CC? Or I just like, in those few moments, I think that one of the best things for me is just reflecting on what just happened and thinking about what to do for the next situation, especially if I notice anything in particular during a stock. So, for example, I might have been able to use this versus Geo in our set, where if I was down and I felt like I could like reset myself, or if I was down and I just lost a stock, I could think, okay, I'm always doing this specific rising fair. What if I did, say, a ledge grab with magnet, or what if I wave landed on stage for my double jump, or something like that? And I think that might have been a lot more productive and something that I could focus a bit more on practicing for in the future. Because I do definitely remember when I was playing him, it was like, can I do this? I can do this. I can do this. And then I would like go into the next stock, still thinking about that, and then I would get hit.
Right, you're still thinking about the same like option.
Yeah.
But even if you're picking a different option, it doesn't have to be a better option. It could be a worse option even, frankly, with the way Smash works.
Yeah.
But so long as you just kind of like move on. You literally move on from the thing that got you killed.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I think that is a really good way. That only comes up obviously with stocks, but that can come up with the opponent stocks too, right? Like let's say you get F tilted out of your bear, you get back to stage, you back throw him, you take Kaisa stock. That gives you a second to be like, okay, that gives me a moment to like reassess. Next time I'm cornered, I do anything else. It's usually easier if you pick a specific option rather than going like, because it's like the elephant in the room. It's like, do anything but forward air. It's like, forward air.
Yeah.
But
If it's what you're already doing, then why stop?
yeah,
You're dying every time.
because it's when your hands take over, they don't know you're getting hit. They're just doing the thing. They can't see the screen.
Yeah. And that's starting to get into our conversation from last week about playing with hands versus your head and like good and bad points to autopilot, I suppose. So it wraps back to that.
Yeah, like you cannot play, especially longer tournaments like Shipwrecked or like even like day twos of longer tournaments that are like even only top 32 in air quotes. You simply cannot play with your head the entire day. You have to like find not even corners to cut makes it sound negative, but like you got to find times where your hands can do their thing, like. And sometimes that means getting a worse punish. So, like, let's say against Luigi, right? Let's say you get a down air and he DIs away from, like, grounded down air, he DIs away from you. Maybe sometimes you just take nair rather than trying to go into him and get the bear for, like, the higher risk, more precise option. Maybe you just need the break a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have to run the numbers on the risk reward, right? Of like, oh, am I at kill percent? Like, 1, would this bear kill? 2, am I at kill percent? Of like if he mashes nair, right? 3, how far away exactly am I? 4, what is the hitbox on back air? 5, what is my DJC moment? Like it's just, or I could just hit nair.
Yeah.
Like you just run out of energy, and it takes a lot of energy to like stay in a good headspace, especially like both in and out of sets. Let's see. Something I noticed you did against Bagels was use EX Fire when he was doing fireballs. That's something you can also just do, especially against like slower floaties like that. If they're not really approaching you, you're like, what do I do? You just chill, practice the EX Fire, you know? Like, because
I was trying to use the EX Fire, like, because I was thinking about when he was fireballing, okay, what if he wave dashes in here? And then, okay, what if he wave dashes in here? And that was like every fireball basically for me.
Yeah.
And I was trying to mix up between, oh, maybe I nair in this time, maybe I EX Fire, maybe I magnet, like, be reverse magnet to catch the fireball. And I think that kind of stuff might be exhausting me more often than not.
Yeah, teach you a secret. You can cover the exact same thing with the exact same moves and think about it less.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to think about, what if he does this? You can just hit the space where he'll be. You don't have to think about, like, that doesn't require the thought. If you're going to hit that space anyway, don't think about it. Just like, let your hands do it and then watch him.
Yeah.
Especially with Luigi, because he'll either get the perfect wavelength out of Fireball, or he'll have to go through Jump Squad again.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Ness options, especially, are very like you hit the space and then you're good. Like you don't have to like commit to the space super hard.
Yeah.
Like whether it's forward air, even everything except for like grounded fire, even like air fire. It's like he's not gonna like whiff punish you with that level of, especially Luigi, with that level of precision. So you can just have your hands be like, okay, hit, like outline of Luigi at exact wave dash space. Like hit Luigi here. And if he's not there, I don't have to think about it because he's way over there now.
Yeah.
So that's a way you can kind of like, I guess autopilot, I don't like the word autopilot for this instance, but basically like let your hands play the game in that way. And then you can, you don't have to be thinking at 100 miles an hour the whole match either. You can just be kind of chilling. Like, I guarantee you, the reason he was only throwing fireballs for like 20 seconds was just to kind of see what you do. Because it takes you more energy to deal with it than it takes him to do it.
Yeah.
Like, player habits aside, you are more concerned about him throwing fireballs than he is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not like a you problem, that's just the character.
Yeah. I never really thought about it from this angle, honestly. It's always been like, I feel like more often than not I play like try and put in my 100% at all times during the set, or at least my 100% for the day. And I think that might end up like exhausting me if I keep trying to go for that for more events.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is something that's very tough to like continuously do, I guess, as we've been talking about. And I think I'm gonna try and like moving forward, try to find those moments where I can just like, as you said, chill
Yeah.
and just look at, as you're saying, the Fireball Luigi situation. It's like, okay, this is where Luigi would wave dash if he wave dashes after Fireball. Let's cover that and just like do that, and then not try and mix up every single option I go for afterwards, because that ends up putting on a lot of mental stress over the match, and I think that also starts wearing me down as well and gets me into that headspace of what ifs, I guess.
Right, because the less energy you have, the harder it is to kind of claw your way out of that spiral once it starts.
Yeah.
And that's not like a fatalistic thing, but just like if you're not stressed, if you're feeling good, if you ate breakfast, etc., what's the most important meal of the day? You're not, you're in a much better place to kind of be like, no, Gio's just throwing fireballs. That's what Gio does.
Yeah.
Luigi's a really good example too because he only really has two, like full tilt and zero with regards to movement.
Yeah.
So like you don't have to. It's one thing if it's like a fox where it's like, oh, they could dash dance, they can do all these tricky things, and then there's Luigi. Like he's either going to be in front of my face or the ledge, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to make it more complicated than that for characters for certain aspects of characters. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Falco, if he doesn't break your shield, and I'm not 100% with Falco. Let's take with what's a character without a kill throw? For Roy, if he doesn't break your shield and you're not an up throw kill percent, the only thing you have to worry about is getting hit. You don't have to worry about getting grabbed.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like a hard rule, but like for the most part, it's one of those things like, okay, I only die here if X happens. Defend myself actively against X.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
So like let's say Ivy has beam, right? I know I'm at 90. I only die if I get grab, and she's doing jab grab mix-ups. I only die if I get grab. Just avoid grab. Like take the jab too. Just don't try to like hard read their minds all the time at least, because you will need that energy to make those comebacks where you do need to hard read their mind and like really be like, okay, what is the play here, right? Like, what do I really think? I really think Gio's gonna like fireball shield. Now is the time to grab the air when he's like 150. Like that's how Gio does it. I guarantee you, he is just chilling. Like when he's throwing those fireballs, he's chilling and just waiting for you to waste your time. Mm-hmm. Like, especially with PM, you have 8 minutes per game. That's it. At Shipwrecked, that is a maximum of 40 minutes, a minimum of 24 if you use all the time, but like, there's no rush, is my point.
Yeah.
The game is just too long, even normal matches, let alone like Luigi Ness. It's just too long to like, to run 100% at the entire time, the entire day. Like, obviously, like, you want to play your best, but a lot of the times your best does not mean playing like white-knuckled, like eyes glued open to the screen the entire match. Because that's not sustainable for anybody. Like, hell, ledge stalling does keep you invincible and mix up when you're going to go on stage. It also just gives you a second. Like, that's why most people do it. They just chill. Mm-hmm. I know Ness can't do it forever, but like,
yeah,
it's that same kind of idea. Like, I don't have to. This ledge does not explode in 3 seconds. There's no like ledge grab. Like, if I grab it 5 times, sure, but like before then, I'm chill. Like, you don't have to grab it within 3 seconds of get off the ledge within 2 seconds of grab. It's not hot potato. Mm-hmm. And it can feel that way though, especially against faster characters. And you play Ness, so that's a fair amount of them too, I imagine. It can feel like they can wrap you up and trap you in speed, where you think, oh, my solution here is just to go faster, but it's super not. Like, if you can out-buttons a fox, then you just better player them at that point. Or they just made like some vital errors and you got your punish, right? Mm-hmm. Again, personal anecdote, but my favorite example in the world is when I was like first kind of like getting better at PM. and like to the point where I'd like make like top 3 most weeks at my weekly. The best player in our region was Mojo, a melee fox player, and he was indeed a melee fox player. I'm not pressing buttons faster than a melee fox player as Mewtwo, especially as a shitty little Mewtwo in 2014, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did is I just started like cheesing him. I just started like brawl pivot grabbing, just finding like working smarter, not harder, because you cannot outbutton some players and some characters. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I say players, some matchups and some characters. So at some point you have to kind of be like, okay, what can I do to make their life harder, to force errors, or to like trick them, or to, maybe hitbox to hitbox. I have a move or two that works really well, but like, nest pressure of like, if you just mash DJC in air, it is not better pressure than spacey pressure. And that is just a fact of life. And that just kind of is the way, that's the characters, right?
Yeah.
So having that urgency and that speed, and like, that is a feeling. And that is a feeling that can kind of like trick you in a way. Mm-hmm. It can, all that adrenaline, all that blood pump, and all that heart going 180 BPM, game 5, last stock, last hit. It's there to keep you safe. It's like a fear response, right? Because, your brain's saying something's going to happen. They're feeling it too. If you're feeling like, unless it's like a really like spacey level shield pressure overwhelmed thing, like early on in the set where you haven't really like shown them that you can kill them for it, they're feeling it too. So they are also on a timer. They're on a fuse. When you have that urgency, that means your fuse is going down, and you are going to, whether it's because of your shield, with like a mechanical thing, whether because of your shield you cannot keep defending forever, whether that's because of just like, I need the counterattack, I need to do this, I need.
Yeah.
Whether it's because of that, like that's what happens when your fuse runs out. You do something. And similarly, offensively, people also have fuses too, right? Like, how often do you see a Fox's pressure shield in place and never try to cover anything else?
Yeah.
Like, do they just do shine drill all day? No, they go for like, shine drill, shine grab, or shine drill, wait for roll. Like, even though like mechanically they could just keep shine drilling forever, and you would have to do something, they're not going to just do it forever. Or like Nest down tilt, right? How many down tilts as Nest do you do until you do something else? It is a little bit of a mix-up, but it's also like, how long, what is your fuse here? How long are you going to do this until you do something else?
Yeah.
Like if you're driving and you come up to a 4-way stop sign with 2 other cars, right? Everyone initially for driving is the exact same fuse, and I hate it. You start and you stop, and from there, some people will just immediately go like, okay, well, just get this out of the way. Screw right of way. This is weird. Some people will wait super long and be like, no, you go. Some people will go, oh, no, right of way says you go. Like mechanically, you're plus, so you can press first. I will continue defending. Mm-hmm. That was, I think, to date, the furthest stretch I've ever made. I touched my toes for the first time. God. I'm disgusted.
Wonderful analogy.
That's a tangent. It's an on-topic tangent.
How many frames am I safe before I can run this stoplight?
It's like 75. It's exactly like 1 1/4 seconds before someone else goes. If there ever studies done on this, I want the money because I was right. I will be right to like the 10th of a frame or 10th of a second on exactly how long people will wait. I hate this phenomenon so much. But yeah, so to kind of get back to the point, if you can find those moments to kind of be able to talk to yourself in that conscious, healthier way of, okay, he's pressuring my shield. Like, obviously, like, it's hard to slow down, both like mentally and physically, when you're in pressure, when you're concerned, when your heart's pumping. But like, okay, like, this is last stock. We got 6 minutes, right? Like, there's no rush. We both have kill throws. This is not going to go to time. I have 6 minutes to get 1 grab, or 6 minutes to get 1 down air, or 1, back air,
Yeah.
you have all the time in the world for this sandbox game for them to make a mistake. You don't. When I say you don't have to press, you don't have to take the risk. You don't have to. Whether that's the risk of shielding, of attacking, of like trying the same thing that got you killed again. Like, there is a mechanical risk reward and time for you to like shark or push or like any kind of like abstract concept and like or frame data concept. But there's also the kind of like if you decide to press to attack at like 150 and you get hit for it, fine, you made the decision. That's and you were wrong or maybe it missed or something, that's fine. But if you as a fear response panic and press, that is a very different press. Even if it works, you feel it in your chest a little different. It's like, okay, last tangent, I promise. It's like in sports, whether it's actually it's better for unexpected. Let's say, have you played volleyball? If you aren't expecting the ball to come to you, or even if you are, and you make a decision about like, okay, I'm going to try to get this up by doing X with my arms, or like moving here, or like, oh, that's in, or that's out. I have to hit that, or I shouldn't hit that. If you make the decision and you're wrong, that's fine. If you freeze, it is different. You do not get improvement off of that. You aren't in that. You are not present. You are not in that moment. You don't get better for next time. Right? The next time that happens, you just go, oh shit, what do I do? Maybe do they just kill themselves again? Do they SD? Is that how I win? And that's not like long-term consistent, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so I managed to talk about sports, anime, and driving. I think that's my main three off-topic tangents.
Nice.
I'm out of analogies.
Very useful. Very, very useful tangents.
God.
What? I don't think I would have like gotten the point about the volleyball if it weren't like specifically the point about the volleyball. The point about that's actually pretty good. I believe you when you say it like that. I guess. I guess yeah. If nothing else, the volleyball point to get across. But yeah, again just let me know. Obviously, if I'm kind of like losing you, if it's not making sense, whether it's because the analogy isn't making sense, or more likely, I've just started rambling. Just obviously, super let me know, because the longer I ramble, you may have noticed, the less focused it gets. So I'm not going to find my way back to the train tracks if you just give me 5 minutes. That's not how I work, unfortunately. Thankfully, I like when the train derails, so that works for me.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a good point to end it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely gonna be a lot to think about. But so much of it just like it felt very understandable, and it really feels like something I can definitely overcome.
I'm glad. Hell yeah. The next big thing you're going to is Blacklisted, right? Or is there like a monthly or regional before then?
There is like a CT monthly on the 30th, but I don't want to miss Halloween weekend in Salem.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I am so excited. October in general is just like absolutely swamped, but I imagine that specific weekend will be amazing to just be in Salem. So yeah.
Yeah.
Blacklist is the next one.
Sick.
Yeah.
So I think the big things are basically, especially at bigger events, between sets, just do something. Do literally anything to like get your but a physical action to get your mind off of like spiraling. And
yeah.
Especially if you're spiraling to like, oh my god, this is I Love Bagels, or this is Sosa, or this is whoever, right? Like, my dude's name is Gio. He's a dude. Like, he's just a person. And not like in a derogatory way. Not like, his name is Gio, that's stupid. But like, if he wants you to call him I Love Bagels, that's fine. Call him I Love Bagels over Gio. But like, he is a human being there's more to him than just like, everyone you're playing at this point, this is like their area of expertise. Like, oh, I'm really good at video games. Like, you don't have to only think, like, you don't have to You can acknowledge that they are a human being with flaws and strengths outside of the thing that you're actively competing against them in.
Yeah.
And that helps, at least for me, that helped me a lot, being like, oh, his name is Sosa. That's funny. That's a good tag. I get it. Now it's like, now when I say Sosa, I'm saying it like his name, not his tag. And that helps me.
Mm-hmm.
I say helps me like I still compete. That's funny. But... And then 4 sets, just try to find those moments you can autopilot and just like get a mental refresh. You know, like how when you're in a room, you ever been in a room with like an automatic Febreze spray? And every like 38 minutes, it just can be like that. It doesn't have to be. It can still be 99% hands and like active playing, and then just take what you can get on the shortcuts of like, okay, he's at 180. I can just pummel twice and then back throw, or I can just back throw. Actually, that's scary. I can just back throw. I played against people that mash out at that percent and 2. I can't risk that. But
honestly, Twisty's done it so many times versus me that it's actually something I'm used to. So I'm very glad.
That is terrifying. But yeah, like okay, back throw just super kills here. I can just chill.
Yeah.
And in a similarly ridiculously pedantic deviousness, if you know you're getting kill thrown by like a 45-degree throw, I like to DI down. Just so they have like an iota less time.
I've started doing that, but more so I have an iota less time where I'm like in that headspace where I can just spiral.
That's a good solution to the symptom, but that is you're aware of it, I guess. That's the good thing. But yeah, I think so between all those, the next goal is basically to. It's hard because the biggest issue is with the majors and regionals. I guess cut yourself some slack in that regard of you don't have to prepare against the world for Blacklisted, especially since it'll be in your home territory. There'll be like more people there, more of your friends will be hanging out. You'll have more distractions.
Yeah.
So just maybe try to figure out what you can kind of get away with. Not like these players are bad, but just like I don't have to think about back throw at 160. I just back throw. I don't have to think about down air, up air against like this specific weight class, or down air, back air against spacies. They just die, right?
Yeah.
Or like I don't have to think about down air, footstool down air grab. I can just down air grab. Like anywhere you can save your energy. Because that's the reason why this is hard to practice. Because at locals, you're not expending enough energy to get this way.
Yeah.
You're not worrying enough to lose that excess energy. You're not, the stakes aren't high enough for you for that to really hit you in the heart and get concerned about.
Yeah.
The stakes are like, oh, Twisty beat me. I'll get second or third or, whatever. Or even like, oh, I went like 2-2 this week. That's weird. Like, cool, good for them. Cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I think that is not a 10. I need to get more words for this. I have probably gone on for long enough at this point.
It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. I heard you had a really bad time at Shipwrecked, so I'm glad you're kind of like feeling better now. There's some space, and I'm glad it seems like you maybe not have a plan. I guess have a plan is the right word of like you know what happened, and we were able to kind of talk about it and figure it out. And it's not like a big scary thing. It's just something everyone goes through.
Yeah.
And even if everyone doesn't. Even if it affects everyone differently, everyone feels very, very similar ways.
Yeah.
And so there's no imposter syndrome of like, oh, I couldn't handle the pressures. I'm not a real top player. It's like, no, you're just a person. Everyone's people. Everyone's feel this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't gotta like worry about that, especially at an event. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit the recording button again.